Be able to have stuff.
The time is 7 p.m. The date is February 2nd, 2023. The City of Jervis Council meeting is now called to order. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Denise, can I have you do roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Gilland,
Present.
thank you. Counselor Foreman.
Here.
Thank you. Counselor Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Council President Wagner.
Here.
Counselor Gregory.
Here.
Thank you. Counselor Harvey.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
So now it's time for number 4, which is announcements and additions. I have an announcement tonight. The City Council greatly values the community's thoughts and perspectives on city business at our meetings, but we must balance that public engagement with the need to do our work. To that end, there are designated opportunities for the public to participate, including the public comment period and public testimony on particular items. And we invite you to sign up and provide your thoughts to the council at the podium during these designated periods. When members of the public speak from the audience and outside of those periods, it prevents the city council from conducting the city business. Please refrain from speaking during the meeting unless you are at the podium during one of the designated public comment periods. The council will not tolerate members of the audience speaking out of turn and will immediately tell the person to stop, and may also end the meeting entirely or seek legal advice to remove the disruptive members of the audience. Thank you for your cooperation. Let's have a good meeting, everyone. Thank you for coming. Are there any other announcements or additions from any of the council? John Hardy, you have the floor.
Well, I'm not sure if this is the right place to put it or not, but I'm objecting to item 10, item A of 10. And the reason why I'm objecting to that, I think it should be taken out of there. And maybe it could be moved to a discussion item. But there are several things in the paperwork that I have that are not correct. And I also do not believe that we're following the rules of the council to do what we're about, what is going to be asked of us to do in that item A of 10. So I think that should be moved out of there and moved to discussion.
Could I ask you what specifically in the paperwork isn't right?
Well, I can tell you one thing. It says, this is in the paper that we got from I believe, from the attorney. And it states in there that the rules also state that normally council meetings and work sessions will be held in person and electronically, but provide that sometimes meetings are electronic only. I would like to know where it says that. I cannot find that anywhere in the rules or the charter. So could you show that to me?
So first of all, Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. I believe this item is appropriately placed on an action item on the council agenda, and I would like to address any questions regarding that item.
At that time? Okay. John?
Well, that one. How about the question I asked in the first place? Can you show me where it says that it will be held electronically, but provide that sometimes meetings are electronic only? Can you provide that to me, or do you want to send that over there too?
This item is appropriately addressed in action items under agenda item number 10.
Okay, yes, that's where we're going to go then.
Okay. Are there any other announcements or additions before we move to public comment? Okay, not hearing any, we're gonna move on to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person with an optional 2 minutes for council questions and answers. If you wish to address the council, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself for the record. I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll start with you. If you can state your name and address for Denise.
My name is Kathy Harvey. I live at 1080 7th Street.
Hey,
I would like to thank the council for everything that you guys do. I know you're not in an easy position. You have disagreements, you agree on some things. You work very hard for this city, and that's why you were elected by the people of this city. I want to thank you. Mayor Annie, you know, 9 months ago, I didn't even know you. But I had spoke out at a council meeting on something I disagreed with. And you came to my house to talk to me about it. And you changed my mind. And I volunteered for the city of Jervis for an organization for your 4th of July celebration. And I had a great time. And for that, I want to thank you. And Keith.
okay, we can't really address the audience, but you can say it to us.
Okay, and I would like to thank Keith, although it's late, a couple months, for his help with the Meals on Wheels driver during the ice. It was amazing that you would go out of your way to help, but I shouldn't be surprised because you are a very giving and caring person. And as someone who volunteers for Meals on Wheels every week, it was much appreciated. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you for coming and saying some. Good. And then Doug at the-
My name is Sandra Gregory, and I want the right to meet with the city council and the staff. I don't like Zoom. It isn't user friendly. It isolates people, and people have a right to communicate.
Thank you. Is that everything? Thanks. Anybody else? Dandy? You can introduce yourself then. I'll start your time.
Well, good evening. I'm Dandy Stevens, the superintendent of the Jervis School District. And I just wanted to come before the city council and the mayor tonight to say Happy New Year. Good to see everybody. I don't think we've really seen each other since we had our joint session back in September. And during that time, we walked through the buildings and we talked about the previous bond attempt and kind of highlighted some of the things that we would be looking at if we went for a second bond. Your Jervis School District Board of Directors has slated their February meeting to consider the resolution for going for another bond this coming May. And so I wanted to give you a quick update on what that would look like. We'll be putting this out to the public either tomorrow or Saturday, because I'll be at the Moda Center tomorrow night for the basketball game. Go Cougars. And so we'll be taking public comment and feedback from the time that this gets put out to the public until our board meeting. We're required to file by February 25th, I believe, if we're going to go for the May bond. And so we listened to the voters. We kicked the tires and looked for reductions. And so this next proposal will be an ask of the voters of $24.49 million, which is $1.97 per thousand. The first bond attempt was $2.21 per thousand. What you have in this small packet I've given you is basically the resolution on the different projects that would be covered. The primary focus is to finish the middle school, because if we finish the middle school, we'll be able to create a great community space that includes a full-service kitchen and cafeteria and restrooms that could serve as a staging area in times of crisis or celebration. And then each of the buildings will get safety and security upgrades and HVAC upgrades as well. We did receive the $4 million awesome grant from the state, which we only get if we pass the bond. On the back side of your draft bond title page, you'll notice that there's an Excel spreadsheet with a calculation of what this could cost our taxpayers. The first 4 lines are actual numbers. So the first one of $145,188, that is the in-town residential average value. And then you can see that it goes down throughout the next 3 categories. The final one of 184,000 and some change is all residential and farmland. So both in and out of town. So that's the average assessed value. And you can see what the dollar amounts were if the bond were to pass. The final page of your packet is something that we're really excited about, because we also heard the voters say, many of us can't afford this. We're senior citizens, we're low income, we need to have some assistance. And so we have created a first of its kind grant for those people who qualify, that they would receive up to $200 a year to go towards their property tax increase if the bond passed. And that would also include people with rent facilities.
Andy, I'm gonna have to call time because I have to keep it fair, but if somebody would like to meet with Andy, she is setting up tours and open questions at any time, right?
Of course, yeah, we'll be doing that as well.
Thank you for coming and updating us. Anybody else? Oh, John, oh, I'm sorry, he has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Oh.
It's okay.
Oh.
No, what I want to know is, where is that noise coming from?
That microphone does not have a phone capability.
It's irritating sound.
The filter is not
Okay, we're gonna have to stick to the rules for council, that no commentary on those things. Anybody else? Yeah, okay.
Keith Gillen, 283 Street. I've been coming here for like 2.5 years. Before you were mayor. I've been called pedophile, been called racist. Been pictured with a piece of shit. Excrement, sorry, excuse my language. So I've had death threats on the internet. So if anyone should be worried about coming here, it should be me. So seeing this meeting on a phone isn't going to work for me. I'm not good with it. So I'm against that. That's it. Oh, and by the way, since last year or this last meeting, no one congratulated you on being mayor. Congratulations.
Thank you. You can ask them a question.
I noticed that last meeting you made a comment that you're still carrying. Are you carrying in the building?
No,
Okay,
Just
excuse-
asking.
I'd like to ask you a question too. Keith, was that during the meeting or after the meeting?
who's up? Is
Thank you.
anyone else carrying here? I was told that other people carry, so you can ask them.
Oh, who was that?
Brian Wagner.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
That's something over there.
Okay, come on up.
Nope, you go first.
Mine was short.
No problem. We're all here for the meeting.
Sue Fessler, live at 1026th Street. Been here 70-something years. And I don't like this Zoom. I do not own a computer. I really don't know how to work a computer. So if that goes through, this will be my last meeting. And I've enjoyed myself here.
We've enjoyed you coming, so thanks for your civic engagement. Next.
Good evening, Mayor.
I can't hear very
No,
well. I have
when I
to-
get before the microphone, I'll make sure to enunciate myself. much better.
Sure, I'll start you after
Well, wait a
you.
second, without a city recorder or clerk here, who do I submit my documents to be put into the city record? Makes it difficult to do these Zoom meetings when nobody's here.
Okay, so noted. You can give it to Sergeant at Arms.
That's the appropriate individual to take custodian of the city record.
Sure, I can certainly take them.
That would be probably more appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so yeah,
Let me give my address, Douglas Lanphier, 940 Winfield Street Northeast, Jervis, Oregon, 97026. okay,
you ready?
Ready whenever you want. May I have extended time for my disability? I showed you my bike the last time I had to do it in the car.
You may have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, you can start now.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and rarely seen city attorney. I came to the last City Council meeting to tell the council and citizens of Jervis about how I was slandered, defamed before this council for months by my neighbor, Grisel Malmstrom. I am dealing with Mrs. Malmstrom's slander, defamation, lies, and fabrications through the civil litigation process. I believe in the rule of law, and through the discovery process, all the facts will be known. Since the last meeting, Grisel Malmstrom went
Okay,
back.
can I stop for a minute? Ms. Malmstrom's here. Would you like to leave while he's talking? I just gave you the option. Is also you're opting to stay? Okay. Go ahead.
Since the last meeting, Grisel Malmstrom went back to the court and complained about being exposed to this council as a fraud and liar in this last election. Ms. Malmstrom did not live in Jervis a year prior to the election. That is fraud, if Grisel Malmstrom wants to acknowledge it or not. What is factual and known about Grisel Malmstrom is she moved into Jervis on December 23rd, 2021. Grisel reported that information to the police on March 11th, 2022. Grisel Malmstrom ran for Jervis mayor, and the election was held on November 8th, 2022. She moved in far less than a year before the election, as the city charter requires. That is fraud, Mrs. Malmstrom. Clearly a crime of fraud to the 18 citizens that wasted their vote on you, and for that matter, all the citizens in Jervis. Mrs. Malmstrom went on and spent her public speaking time last month presenting a mostly incoherent attack on the mayor and members of this council. During her public speaking time, she used several profanities directed towards the mayor and city council members. Mrs. Malmstrom interrupted the council many times during the meeting and was eventually asked to leave the meeting. I was shocked and disappointed to hear Grisel Malmstrom yell out many phrases of profane language directed towards the mayor and city council from the lobby before exiting the building. Such behavior shows disrespect to this council and this city. How is the character displayed by Mrs. Malmstrom a trait or morality the citizens of Jervis desire in a mayor or public official? This mayor and city council were elected by the voting citizens of this city. The citizens have elected these esteemed members of this community to represent everyone as citizens of Jervis. As citizens, we need to show respect for our elected officials and the place where they conduct the city's business, these council chambers. There are civil methods to deal with any dissatisfaction you may have with city government, but resorting to profane language or posting negative, defamatory, baseless fabrications on social media postings should not be one of the methods we use to resolve our conflicts. As elected officials, you should denounce all racism, hateful language, and discrimination, no matter by whom. And as elected officials, representing your greater community, you should denounce and condemn any negative, hateful speech about another citizen or member of the community. To hide behind the excuse that you do not condemn anyone's right to free speech is not a justified defense. Free speech does not include hate speech. As we have witnessed on a national level, hate speech, degrading another person or race, does fuel violence. What I came to this meeting to share with my fellow citizens of Jervis is that our city council deserves our support and respect. They are volunteering their precious time to contribute to our community And by not supporting and respecting our mayor and city council, we are just degrading ourselves and our community standing. Thank you for the time to address you during my public speaking.
Mr. Lampier, thank you.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of dysfunction in the city and I'd like to see it corrected in citizens. So I'm hoping we can guide it in that direction. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Officer, can you stand and,
You know what? We're fine.
as an ADA accommodation.
She doesn't have a protected order.
No, she does not.
All I'm requesting is stop and
I would like to ask her to do that. All right.
here's my disability sign.
We're okay. You can have 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself and I'll start your time. We're doing all we can. This is it. And can you put your cell phone away, please?
I need to be able to read what I typed up. That's also a disability accommodation.
Okay, your time starts.
I'm not ready, please. A little poetry and Spanish lesson for Jervis. El pedazo de mierda wasting tens of thousands of dollars in Jervis city money. That's the name of my poem. El pedazo de mierda committed multiple anonymous, illegal, and false police reports regarding being in a wheelchair and my vehicles blocking the sidewalk. Police reports can confirm this at least a handful amount of times. He was warned. He wasted resources with malice. El pedazo de mierda cost the city of Jervis attorney fees roughly $10,000 and growing to get involved to the subpoena El pedazo de mierda brought on. This is confirmed information, not by my civil matter. El pedazo de mierda called this neighborhood mini Tijuana and states he likes to go for walks or exercise when indeed he acts like a hermit. El pedazo de mierda missed multiple court dates on purpose. On or around 3/14/2022 at 12:35 hours, your attorney, Mierda.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a minute. Mr. Lampier, I believe she's speaking about you. Would you like to leave or
Well,
stay?
I'm more my pleasure to listen to what she has to say. Other than she's just lying. That's all it is.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to extend that.
Get refrain from profane language.
Yes, please.
Okay.
In Spanish or English.
Okay. The attorney to this individual said that his client was not looking to start trouble and would leave his neighbors alone if that is what they wanted. In an email coming from this person to the chief in his own words, he said, simply insulting someone does not rise to the level of personal threat to their safety.
I didn't get permission for that. Could you please?
In another
I'm going to
email-
stop you for a moment. I'd like you to put your cell phone away, please. I asked no cell phones. You maybe didn't hear it because you came in late. Thank you.
How come there's other surveillance?
They were permission. They asked me permission to.
We'll ask you for permission.
Thank you.
Should I, this is what this individual said to the chief, should I, in an email, should I not bankrupt Jervis and legal fees? I am out of state now, and as you know, I am a pilot and can fly where I want to fly or need to fly at will. In the same email, he said, I can deal with you and the city now. He also stated, I owned an attorney service in California from 1981 until my cultivation conviction. Just an FYI, the felony was expunged, so I am not a felon. What are you doing to take a bite out of crime? McChase, get it? Play on McGruff, the crime fighting dog. You have figured out by now I am litigious and have the funds to sustain such efforts. I have little fear of what you and your jackbooted thug association can do to me. I have multiple view cameras with sound on every vehicle I operate, so good luck showing probable cause as my cameras record GPS position and G-forces. This individual also decided he no longer wanted to do mediation. Please look him up. You already know his name, lovely picture. I asked the city council to look into these false police reports and take appropriate penalties.
Perhaps audio can be provided from law enforcement. I'd also like to present a video and finish up my statement here. Your owner, stop wasting everyone's time and Jervis money. All this is on public record. So I'd like to play a video for the city here.
Okay, all right.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call time. Your 5 minutes is up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Can I do one more comment?
No, your time is up. Thank you. Would anybody else like to have a public comment? Thank you, Officer West. Not seeing any hands. Denise, do you have anyone out there that I can't see that wants to public comment? Okay,
No, Mayor, I don't see anybody.
okay, thank you. I have one in the gallery. Please come forward.
This will be very short.
Okay.
My name is Linda Jensen, and I live at 1068 Street, Jervis. My question is, are there no rules as far as coming to a city council meeting about someone using profanity, showing pictures of our mayor's husband with a shit pile underneath? Why, if I did something like this, I wouldn't be expected to even be able to show my face back there. Do we not have any rules about this? I mean, where are the boundaries? That's what I would like to know, is where are the boundaries? As far as, to me, anyone coming to a city council meeting needs to be respectful. There needs to be no name calling, no belittling of other people. And I can't believe what has been allowed. And part of our city council won't denounce it. They're telling me, part of our city council, that this is okay. This really disappoints me. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And the rules, yes, there are rules against it. Well, it's public comment.
Brian Wagner, 166 Senate Drive. The President's Council, Nikki Wagner. Just to reiterate and talk about what she was mentioning, there are actual rules. This Jersey meeting procedures is now posted on the city website, and I would behoove every single one of you councilors to read it, especially sections 17, 18, and 19. And then I would also suggest the audience, please go to the website, read it, because there are very strict rules of engagement that have been broken by both sides all the way across. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Happy New Year.
That was weird.
Anybody else? I'm really not seeing any, so I think we'll. Is it, Denise, your hand is up out there? Is that an accident? Okay, thank you. Okay, so public comment is now over. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 6, which is our consent calendar. Bill list for November 23rd through December 28th, 2022. B, bill list for December 29th, January 25th, 2023. And C, treasurer report for a period ending January 25th, 2023. The requested action before we have conversation is a motion to approve the February 2nd, 2023 consent calendar as presented. Any discussion? Michael, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have a question on number 6, item A. The legal fees on the November 23rd to December 28th for $11,253. Can we discuss that?
Ashley, can you? Which page did you say?
Page 3.
Counselor Gregory, what specifically would you like to discuss about that?
What were how did we accrue $11,000 in legal fees on this month?
Were you in attendance at the last council meeting?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so I believe that was discussed. I also believe that you received a follow-up email from my office specifically discussing those items. Did you receive that email?
I received not the first one, I received the second one, but it wasn't clear. And at the last meeting, we never discussed it.
Right. So attorney-client privilege is covered by the matters that you receive legal advice on. So the attorney-client privilege invoice contains attorney-client privilege information. At the last council meeting, which I just reviewed before coming here this evening, the matter was discussed and the council asked for additional information on that particular legal bill. Our office in an attorney-client privilege email provided every member of the council detailed explanations about the issues that led to that specific bill.
Michael, John Harvey, you have the floor.
That's done.
I'm done.
So my question was, that question for that information was put to Susie, our manager.
Right.
So I'm wondering why it had to be put to us in a legal form. Why couldn't Susie just bring that information back? Why did it have to be put to us in a legal form? That doesn't seem right.
I guess perhaps I don't understand your question, Councilor Harvey, because it was a bill from my office, and when my office provides legal services to the city, it is attorney-client privilege. So our client, as I think was, discussed at the last city council meeting, is the city council as a body. So when Susie received such a request from the council to explain attorney-client privilege legal matters during an open public meeting, she did exactly what she should do, which was to say, I need to speak to the city attorney. I am not authorized to waive attorney-client privilege, and I will get back to you. We did exactly that, and I believe, I don't have the email in front of me, that in that email, Emily Mazar said, any additional questions can be dealt with during an executive session, which would keep the privilege. My advice would not be to discuss attorney-client privilege matters in an open public meeting.
And that's my other question is that, okay, so you give advice on a lot of things to Susie about things, and we still discuss it out here. But you're not making that client attorney privilege. Why?
Most of the conversations I have with the city manager are attorney-client privilege conversations, because the reasons why she reaches out to me and other members of my office is to receive legal advice. There are occasions, for instance, what I'm going to discuss today, that have legal implications, but I'm not going to be, giving legal advice on an issue that could generate liability for the city.
Oh, okay, so in that case, what we did discuss, can you tell me that that is something that can never be discussed because it should be public information since it's in our bill list? Is there some reason why that has that put on it that it can't be discussed? Is it illegal for us to discuss the bills that we have here?
No. However, the matters that we're giving advice on have attorney-client privilege information in them.
Okay, but that's my question. What about that makes it client attorney privilege? What was in that information that you're talking
So
about?
my advice here is that apparently, the line between what you can and can't discuss regarding an attorney-client privilege matter is not clear. My strong preference for the city is to not have this discussion about what we can and cannot share, what is and what is not privileged information in an open public meeting. My advice is that if you would like to have a further discussion about what is and what is not attorney-client privilege, that we follow up and do that in an executive session.
I'm done.
Are you done? Anybody else? Okay, so I was looking,
Does the public have the opportunity? No, I didn't think so. I just want to make sure.
okay, so just raise your hand and if I can, I'll call on you next time,
I
please.
know, I know.
Okay, thank you. So we were looking for a motion, Pam.
I'll motion to approve February 2nd, 2023 consent calendar as presented.
Councilman
I
Harvey.
have to bring this up, and I know I got an answer from somebody on it, but we usually have minutes for these meetings. And according to the rules, it states that we should have those, and the Susie is to furnish those for us, and we don't have those here, and I'm wondering, I think I know why, but I'd like to ask Susie why we don't have those.
Excuse me, point of order. We had
Just
motion
a
on the
moment,
floor.
please. You said point of order, correct? Okay, what is your point?
My point is that we were making a motion regarding the consent calendar, and your question, John, doesn't seem to have anything to do with that particular motion.
It does because it includes the minutes which he was discussing. I'll let it go ahead. Susie, could you answer John?
Sure. The minutes from the last council meeting are a bit of a challenge just because of the way the last council meeting went. We've also had a lot of distractions during the month of January, so they're going to take a little bit extra time.
Okay, John.
Okay.
Okay. So that being said, we can go back and we did have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any. John Harvey,
No.
Michael Gregory.
I guess not.
So a no.
No.
Mickey Wagner. Baltazar Gonzalez. Pam Foreman.
To clarify the yes or the no, could you do that for me again?
Yes, yes, the motion carries, or no, it does not.
Yes.
Okay, so 3-2, the motion carries. Moving on, we have committee reports. Lauren Clifton is here. She's our Parks and Recs ad hoc committee. Would you like to come forward? Sit down, state your name and address, please.
Parks and Recs, we haven't had a meeting for a while. I haven't heard back on what's going on with the website Susie was going to look into for the National Guard. So I don't have any information to really report back on.
So good.
Yeah.
So Susie, you filled out an application with the National Guard, is that correct?
Yes, I did start the process on the city's website, but again, I've been dealing with lots of distractions from this month, and I have not had the time in addition to my daily duties to get back to that.
Okay, so is there any reason that since you cleared the application that we can't hand that back to the ad hoc chair to continue digging into it and see what she can find out? I think that application process was just to get clearance, if I remember right. Wasn't that what you asked for, Laura?
Yeah.
So,
Susie was to scope it out to make sure.
Okay.
Anything sensitive. That's what I understood it to be.
so
Okay.
is there, we can't hand that back at some point?
Yeah, let me follow up and check on that.
Okay, then thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have one question.
Okay.
During our consent calendar, during the motion, was that for the November 23rd and through the 28th, and also for December 29th to January 25th?
Actually, I think that it was, but we had already approved, but there was a faux pas, a drop and drag issue on the computer, so we were just being informed of the one.
Okay. What about
So
the
it's being
treasurer's,
updated. Pardon?
the treasurer's report for January 25th?
It's all in one.
Okay.
No. Any other questions? Okay, next we're gonna have a presentation from Chief Fudge. Can you come up, Chief Fudge? Hey, everybody, this is Chief Fudge.
Mayor and councilors, thanks for taking some time to meet with me tonight. We've, as I've reported in the past, we've got voters approved the bond last May for the building, in part for building the fire station. For the building of the fire station to serve the Jervis community here. The board of directors for the fire district has dedicated 3.1 million of that bond to that project. But what I'm here tonight is to ask for a letter of support for a capital project request that will go to the state legislature to expand the concept of that project. We would like to add a community room for the Jervis community here. We'd like to add a storage facility for the CERT equipment. We'd like to add a fuel, above ground fuel tank. It'll be used in the case of emergencies around the entire region to fuel generators and public works vehicles, emergency response vehicles in the area. We'd like to build a training tower. The district does not currently have a training tower, and that will help us with our ISO rating for this community as well. So what I'm here tonight to ask for that support for that request. All told, that project will come in about 7.1 million, and the fire district and voters will be providing 3.1 million of that. So the request will be for about $4 million. To the state legislature. So I've been before the Woodburn City Council, the commissioners, county commissioners, the county emergency managers, and all the fire districts around have supported this request, and I'm asking for your support as well.
Thank you. Just a moment, I'll give you the floor. I have a prepared letter here for you, and I've been able to go out and talk to constituents, and we're still on board. The ISO is the insurance thing. Just
That's correct. That's the insurance service office rating that the fire district gets. But that's what everybody pays when you go to your insurance office. They look at our ISO rating, and that's how they rate, or that's how your premiums are determined. So every fire district in the nation is on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being the best. So we have a 3 rating, which is very good, but we think we can bump to a 2 rating with this facility and the better coverage you'll get from.
thank you. Yeah. Oh, okay, but we do have a letter prepared for you, and I would recommend that we do that. I'm very I'm really happy that you guys have staked it out. And I've talked to some of my colleagues that are in the state legislature that are also pretty excited. So I'm hoping they can help us, right?
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we would need a motion to approve us giving him a recommendation letter.
I make a motion to approve giving him a recommendation letter.
Okay, so the motion is that we will give Chief Budge a recommendation letter to send to the state legislators. All in favor, say aye. Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good luck. And the next is the activity tracker. I will say, I'll introduce this as I had talked to Susie, we were going to get together and work on it a little bit. I haven't had a chance to do that, and I don't think she had either. But if you have some questions tonight, could I have you raise your hand? Okay, not seeing anything. I do have one that later we're going to talk about a goal setting, and maybe that's where we could look at doing some of the tracker together. Susie is prioritizing things to add on to that. Maybe. Would you think that a good idea, Susie?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I would have had time this month to meet if you suggest it.
Oh, I didn't, is what I said. So, and you sounded like you were busy earlier. You said you could swamp. So that's where I took that and assumed, sorry. Anybody else? Okay, so we're gonna move on. And I'm gonna introduce this next one, the action item. Mine was a little bit of parliamentary procedure I read up on so that I can make sure that everybody's heard, because I do care about what everyone thinks on this, and the council does too. So bear with me for a moment, please. So rules of procedure in our council, on number 2, in all, I'm just going to read it so that everybody understands why I'm going to do it the way I am and how I'm going to do this. In all matters to be heard by the council, presiding officer may introduce the subject, after which the presiding officer may first invite those persons and parties who are proponents of any matter to be considered by the council to speak thereon. Then the opponents of such proposal shall next be afforded an opportunity to speak thereon. Then members of the staff of the city may speak thereon or answer questions from members of the council or the public. Then the members of the council shall discuss the matters and act thereon. So I'm going to open it up to the proponents, which I think might start with you, Ashley.
So the city attorney, Ashley Driscoll, Mayor, what were you just reading from?
Our council rules.
Okay, which section?
It's under regular meeting rules of procedures.
I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page.
Yeah, sorry, it's page 23.
Page 23.
The bottom paragraph.
So I'm not sure that there's a proponent or opponent to this council item. I'm going to do my staff presentation and then turn it over to the city council for discussion. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to introduce myself briefly and then explain a little bit of why I'm here this evening.
Okay.
So my name is Ashley Driscoll. I have been with the city attorney's office for the city of Jervis for a better part of a decade. This is my first occasion to ever come to a city of Jervis city council meeting. I have worked closely with your staff on various items throughout the year, but as has been mentioned already this evening, it has been a busy year at the city of Jervis. I am here tonight because I do have, or my office, I should say, do have particular concerns about the conduct of the last city council meeting and some of the conduct and the rhetoric that has been brewing at the city for quite some time now. From the city's perspective, and I should say that, as I mentioned earlier, I am the city's legal advisor. My client is not one individual member of the city. It's not the police chief. It's not the city manager. It's not the mayor. It's not the council president. It is the city. So my job is to do everything that I can to protect the city from liability. And that is the main purpose why I'm here today. So when I reviewed the last council meeting, there were a number of items that jumped out at me regarding whether or not the city council was following its established rules. So your city council rules are adopted by resolution. They're not an ordinance. They're your agreed upon rules that you should follow at every council meeting. They're designed to implement fairness, to make sure that everybody, both on the council and those members of the audience that wish to participate when there is allowed for audience participation, are able to be heard in a fair and clear manner. They also provide legal protection for the city. So when those rules are not followed, there are some concerns, both in terms of general fairness and decorum for both the city council, city staff, and members of the public, and they also generate legal risk. I have followed up in an attorney-client privilege email going over some of those legal risks that I am referring to. Because we are in an open public meeting and because the city is my client, I am not going to be going into those this evening, nor will I be answering questions about those. We can follow up at any privileged forum if you have questions about that. So when we are looking at this sort of situation where we have multiple members of the audience discussing that, they feel unsafe attending council meetings, when I have members of the council saying that they share those feelings, and members of staff expressing discomfort as well, one of the main tools that the city council has in its toolbox is to be able to step back from the in-person meeting and hold electronic meetings. Councilor Harvey, when you were referring to the city council rules, you asked me specifically where it allows the city council to hold purely electronic meetings. I took a look at that. What it says is that your meetings are normally held both in person and electronically. That does not mean that you can't hold your meetings only electronically. In fact, during the entire time that during the entire active COVID time, I should say, all city council meetings were held electronically. And you should, under state law, be holding your city council meetings electronically and provide access to it. Many city councils in both communities, big and small, throughout Oregon, did this for the better part of 2 years. My suggestion, our office's suggestion, is that until these matters cool down and until we get to a place where we are not having audience members speak when they are not being recognized, and we have multiple accusations of using inappropriate language and multiple instances of using profane language at a council meeting, that it is best to have electronic meetings. In an electronic meeting, everybody has the same access they do at these meetings, these in-person meetings. However, the city is more able to control the conversation. There is less opportunity for those two audience members to shout out. There's less opportunity for altercations among both council members and among the audience. So it is our office's recommendation that the Jervis City Council, for a limited period of time, consider holding electronic meetings.
Thank you, Ashton. So what I'm hearing is you can't, or it's executive or privilege, so you're not going to answer questions. So I do want to hear from people that are opposed to it. There just can't be any questions asked of the city attorney because she cannot answer. So is there any opponents?
That's not specifically what I said. There are some legal risks that I outlined to the city council in a privileged email.
Okay. I'm
Those
sorry.
are the questions that I would advise that you not have me answer in an open public.
Okay, well, I wouldn't force you. If you're not comfortable with any question, you don't have to answer that, of course. I'm going to take opponents, but you're going to have to raise your hand, no blurting out. I'll have you come up and we'll give you like 2 minutes each. Ms. Jensen, would you like to come forward? And it's the opponents, so opposed to the proponents.
My name is Linda Jensen, and it's 1068th Street. Are we to address the attorney for a
You
question?
can address your counsel if you wanted to ask.
Okay, my question is, there are a handful of people, just a few, that have caused a problem within this room. Why aren't something done with the handful of people that use the obscenity, that are causing the headache? Is there no rules that they just until their behavior changes, they aren't allowed to come. The rest of us should not have to suffer. Some do not have computers. There will be a lot of people that like to come to these meetings that are not going to be able to come now if you do that. So I highly object to it. Let's take care of the troublemakers that come here, rather than to discipline the whole city of Jervis not being able to come to the city council when they have no way of even seeing what's going on with people. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is there any other opponent? Go ahead.
Said agree with 3.57. I agree with her. The troublemakers, whatever the problems happen to be, are small in number. Majority of people are not. Don't make all the people pay the price for the mistakes of whatever is happening. You know, I've been talking about with the trouble. Majority of people are not doing that. Don't make us pay the price.
Ms. Gregory, you've been to these council meetings. Have you seen a meeting like the last one a lot?
No.
No. There was twice that I know of, so I just curious if you have witnessed any meetings that have gone awry several times or, you know. Okay, thank you. Ms. Clifton, come on up.
And so doing 1065 6th Street, I have a problem with Zoom meetings because like I left early the last meeting and I tried listening to it in my car on my way home. I had a 45-minute drive and I was sitting in the lobby and it wasn't let in. So that's happened with my husband when he's tried listening at home. He's had it where your guys' volume, he can't hear what's going on. So Zoom doesn't work all the time for this occasion. And I understand the freedom of speech and all that, but when they come in and not discuss city business and start attacking people's characters, where's the line? And it's just a few people that have come forward that have caused a problem. And it happened back in April when
No, it was June.
June.
June, and then January.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only two times. And both times,
I was being the one up, so
you are being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I don't think Zoom is a good option.
Well, maybe we need to look at other resources like 2 officers, assigned with the rules posted clearly. I can learn on procedure a little bit better. Anybody else? Oh, Mr. Wagner?
As mentioned, video meetings actually are hard to judge, hard to read, sometimes hard to listen to. But the reality of the situation is this: if the council and the audience reads, understands, and hear to section 78 to 19 of the procedures, this is a moot point. We would have no issues here if everyone was following the procedures they were supposed to. And we wouldn't have to worry about this.
Anybody? Somebody? Come on up.
Kathy Harvey, 1087th Street.
So I know my way around a computer, so. Are there, and I don't know if you can answer or anyone, are there a limitation of how many people can be on a Zoom meeting at one time?
I do not know.
So if we have questions like poor quality, not knowing how many can be on at one time, people in a waiting room, why would this even be a viable option?
I know I've talked to my mentor and he's had to take it out of his city because people started complaining to him and then they start turning it up in higher up because it just is such a crapshoot if you're going to get in or you're gonna have technical difficulties. So I hear your point.
And I think that any citizen that is willing to come to a meeting should also be able to see it on Zoom if that's what it goes to. But if we can't get in, if we can't hear, it's worthless. And that's just my opinion.
You know what? I would like to thank you and everybody else so far for your really calm discussion. Anybody else, please come forward. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? John?
Yeah, I don't feel that, well, anyway, disruption should not be dealt with by eliminating public meetings. It should be dealt with by firm enforcement of the rules, just like you said. And in the last meeting, if we would have had people do what they were asked to do, the meeting would have probably been different. It didn't happen. So, and the things that happened in the last meeting don't send the proper message about our enforcement of those rules. Now, I see we have 2 officers here tonight, and I think that was a very good idea. So I'm going to give them that, but it shouldn't be dealt with by eliminating public meetings. That's, I'm going to go on that one.
I'd like to say that I think tonight demonstrates that this is your typical meeting. 2 meetings, public meetings. I talked to many mayors, many other council people, state legislators. We're never going to satisfy everybody. There is always going to be somebody. I think that keep working at procedures. You know, for myself, I'm not perfect. Putting the rules out there where it's very clear. You walk in here, you're going to act accordingly. And if you don't, you will be escorted or told to leave. I think those measures are more reasonable than these people that have been calm and collected and been coming to meetings, not just 2 where it says on Facebook, this is going to be fun to watch the mayor get attacked. That's the only 2 times that it's happened. And it's shameful, and I denounce it. I denounce the people that are doing it. The co-counsel, I can't make you do it, but I'm going to say no. It's wrong. So with that, I respect that you have your opinions and you have to cover us for liability. But I guess the pushback is, I'm here for the voice of the people. Mr. Lanfair, would you like to come forward?
I thought Priscilla was on there again first, but
Go ahead, sir, go ahead.
I'm not ready.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go with debate. So if Grisel, would you want to come first? Yeah. We'll give 2 minutes. And so,
Sent the custodian of the record to city attorney. We can prepare a statement. My address, do you still need my address for the record? Or secretary,
Go for it.
go for it, present it, or do you know?
No, please present your address.
940 Southwest Winfield Street, Northeast, Jervis, Oregon, 90706. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Staff, and City Attorney. I speak in opposition to the electronic council meeting motion, most commonly known as Zoom meeting, for many reasons. First, the isolation of city council business to an electronic only method would disproportionately disenfranchise many residents of Jervis. Not all citizens of Jervis have computers, let alone internet access. You are removing these marginalized citizen residents of Jervis from your conversations, considerations, or reflections, as they may not be able to learn about city business. The strategy of disenfranchising the citizens of Jervis should not be welcomed or tolerated in our community. The city attorney is suggesting that you should disproportionately eliminate from your conversations the citizens of color that make up the majority of this city's population. The city attorney is proposing that the city council prey on the weakest and the most vulnerable members of Jervis. There is a reason that the citizens' business in Jervis and many other cities are held in public session. That reason is transparency. This city already has a problem with transparency. We as citizens of the United States have realized the rights of our public business not being held in star chambers, out of public view, scrutiny, or commentary. The suggestion of the proposed electronic meetings by the city council is an attempt to limit or censor citizen participation and free speech in our local government. I think the citizens of Jervis should take notice that the city attorney has appeared at this city council meeting, by the way, at a great financial cost to the tax-paying Jervis citizens. This meeting is about restricting Jervis citizens' ability to participate and observe our city's business, which after all is the citizens' business. They may use the excuse to limit meetings due to COVID emergencies, but that's over. This council has been conducting public meetings for months now, and Oregon removed itself from the declared health emergency. So I think it's disingenuous that the city attorney comes before this council and the citizens of Jervis and purports that this is an okay thing to do because of COVID emergency. That is a misnomer.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you. to-
I'll almost be done. I only have two more paragraphs. So
I'm sorry, are you enforcing the 2-minute rule? Because I believe it was enforced earlier.
Well, I would ask for a special accommodation due to my disabilities, which is 5 minutes. And I didn't see the timer. So if that was, I would start.
You know what, go ahead and continue, Mr.
There's been. I figure out where I left off. I apologize. What the city attorney is worried about are the lawsuits due to the contemptuous nature of recent meetings. What the city attorney should be concerned with is a lawsuit or litigation containing denial of city services or inequitable, biased application of law under the color of authority. It has been speculated that Grisel's Malmstrom's recent attempt to acquire a temporary stalking protective order was to prevent me from attending these city council meetings, to silence me, to prevent me from exposing her as the fraud and liar that she is. The city attorney learned of Mrs. Malmstrom's failed attempt at obtaining a temporary order. After learning that, it is now suggested by the city attorney that all city council meetings be held in a star chamber, devoid of public participation, comment, or editorial. This is not democracy. It is totalitarianism and fascism. This must be resisted and rejected by the city council. And if you do not, you are risking being rejected by the citizens of Jervis. As you do not represent us, you represent the city attorney. The city attorney has showed up at this meeting exclusively to make sure that their will and desire is followed. The city attorney is firmly holding a knee on the neck of this council to vote in favor of the city attorney's proposal. Your vote on this issue will be recorded in the city's permanent record. When or if you run for re-election, the voters of Jervis will be reminded of what you did tonight. If the city attorney is concerned with disruption, she should advocate for firm enforcement of the city council's rules of procedure. At the last city council meetings, Chief Chase sat idly by after the mayor asked for removal of Grisel Malmstrom. Instead of escorting her out, he did nothing, which allowed her to remain in the building lobby and yell profanities at the members of the city council before finally departing. My desire is to bring transparency back to the citizens of Jervis. As I've stated in my public comment time, this city council was elected by the city of Jervis, as we expect our esteemed elected officials to act in the best interest of the citizens of Jervis. This agenda item of limiting city council sessions to electronic only or Zoom is not in the best interest of the citizens of Jervis. Apparently, it may be in the interest of some city staff that aren't here tonight, that may have the confidence of selected city council members. Thank you for allowing me time to speak in opposition to this action item.
Okay, thank you. Any comments to that, council? Okay, anybody else? Come forward. Anyone stop at 5 so you will be free just to be there? All right then. Go.
So as a minority, I am not offended by having these meetings in Zoom. Second, I feel I'm in danger by being here, but I am still here. There have been many lies said about me. I'm still here. I will be here, and I may run next time. Zoom meetings might be safer as a person with disabilities. I do not like the fact that people are here with guns, or that they have the guns in their vehicle. So if that's going to continue, then it should be Zoom meetings, or unless you guys want to do pat downs at the door. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Because I am here to hear everybody. Come on up. This affects us all.
I'm JR, I live in 6th Street, 640.
Have a seat, JR. Yeah, I got a time for two.
Okay,
Let's go.
okay. I don't believe in Zoom because it's like taking our rights to know what's going on. Zoom is for nothing, you know, you're spending money. You know, all this stuff, what you guys are doing, you know, oh yeah, it's like you're taking something out of us. We want to know where our money's going, our taxes are going. We need to know. It's not only you guys' choice. That's why we elect you guys to figure, okay, how we're gonna do it. But you guys don't like, you guys just sit there and yeah, no, yes, no. You know, ask the people. That's what we're here for. So we're on Zoom. You're taking our rights. You know, you're taking our rights to know. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? Come on.
Keep going to 83rd Street. I see the Susie and Denise are here, and that's fine. They're Zooming. How come we can't just do it like that? If you don't want to be here, Zoom. If you want to be here, be here.
You stole my thunder, Keith.
I mean, I don't understand.
I offered that.
If they feel, unsafe, stay at home. You know, be in the center of your home or wherever you are, but
Don't force it on us.
I don't see what the difference is doing it just like we're doing it right now. People are zooming in, people are here.
Keith, there are a few problems though, because a lot of times there's paperwork to turn in and out, and if our manager and our recorder aren't here, then who do you give it to? They usually accept it.
Yeah.
And
So we give it
they
to
also,
her all the time?
yeah, I mean, so there are a few things that you
Yeah.
that are not, wouldn't work that way, but
Well, I mean, working today.
yeah.
Maybe we make our sergeant, maybe we make our sergeant at arms, the person that receives it, or me, the mayor. Because I know stuff. Anybody else?
As council member, I'd like to speak.
The
The way I see it, we've been having,
Mayor, before we start the council comments, can I respond to some of the public comments?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that, Michael. Go ahead, Ashley.
So to be absolutely clear, a Zoom meeting is a completely legal and legitimate public meeting. People are allowed to participate in a electronic meeting in the exact way that they are allowed to participate in a meeting in person. You still have public comment. People are still allowed to sign up and give their public comment. If you have a public hearing, people participating via Zoom are allowed to participate in the exact same way as an in-person meeting. What you do not have in a electronic or Zoom meeting
is the other distractions that have been an issue here at the city of Jervis, and frankly have happened here this evening, where people are shouting or speaking out of turn. We've already had one earlier today, and you addressed it appropriately, Mayor, but those issues have not stopped. You also do not have a situation where private members of the public are using the public meeting to air personal grievances. They can still do that via a Zoom meeting, but they're less likely to misuse the public process in that way. Many communities across the entire state of Oregon held Zoom public meetings for over 2 years, and people were allowed access to it in that way, to the extent that the Oregon legislature changed the public meeting laws to require that every jurisdiction also have an electronic component. For the city council, you have several different issues to balance. First, the one that has been focused on regarding many of the comments here tonight, whether or not people feel comfortable here. The people that are here, by and large, are the people that feel comfortable attending your public meeting. The second issue is decorum and regulation of the public meetings according to the council rules. My concern stands, especially after hearing some of the comments about how future meetings will be regulated, that there still will not be a uniform application of those council rules regarding who gets to speak and who gets to attend public meetings and who does not. So a concern remains there. However, this is a city council decision. You balance all of these concerns. You understand the risks, both political and legal, and you make your decision. I am here tonight to explain a concern and to represent this position to you. So when you are making your decision, you are making it in a fully informed fashion.
And finished, thank you. Councilman Gregory.
Yes, I would like to say Jervis has been holding city council meetings for about 144 years in open forum. And I would say with a little bit of help from administration, I think we could help take care of what goes on in the meetings. The advice that we heard that if you don't feel comfortable at the meeting, please Zoom in. The ones that may not be able to afford Zoom, I think there's other avenues I heard that were possible for them if they didn't have internet or didn't have access to Zoom. I'm not sure what they are. Maybe the attorney can address that. For 17 years, while I was on the council at that time, we worked hard to save $1,250,000 to pay cash for a facility like this for us all to gather and have an open forum. I mean, when I started, we had a 5-gallon bucket catching water coming down, and that was uncalled for. So and the citizens, they paid dearly for that. And what I hear in our audience and what I've heard from other constituents, they want to have a council meeting. So that's the way I'm gonna be here.
Anybody else have any comments on council? Yeah.
So in good conscience, it is difficult for me to go against the advice that we pay attorneys to give us as a council. I believe that their concerns are valid. However, I believe the citizens' concerns are more valid. I do agree that we have not had a consistent procedural process, not just in a couple meetings, for several months. I feel if we can control and do the procedural process correctly, consistently, and fairly applied, regardless of who has an opinion to come and stand at the microphone, then we have the option to do it in person, and those who would like to do it in Zoom. I personally, on 3 different occasions, sitting in this chair, have been insulted both by members of the people that are in this audience and others that have been here. those procedures to be interrupted were not done. If we are able to consistently apply those so that every person feels safe to return here, every council member has protection from the other council members and the mayor to behave and have the audience do as they need to do, as our rules stipulate. I 100% believe that we should continue in Zoom. I will state that if that's not possible to do, and we devolve to what we were on January 5th, that I do not believe in person is an option.
Thank you. Nikki?
Okay, so I'm also going to agree with Pam. And just for you, Michael, generally there aren't. There isn't generally a cost to get into a Zoom meeting like this. Anybody can join. And there, you can put a lot of people on there, and I can understand too, you know, people may be fearful. People may not be feeling good and just not want to come in. Whatever the situation, circumstance, I think that both need to be available. Because they do, you know, people do deserve to be here. They do need to have the right to be in front of the council and, you know, hear what's going on, ask their questions, get solutions, problem solve. So.
John?
Well, is everybody done talking? Well, if that's the case, then I think what I would do is, I like what you said, Pam, and I think I would make a motion that we move this to, say, a month or two down the road, come back and revisit it, see how our meetings go from here, gives us time to get things in order. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a very good idea. So my motion is that we move this and come back to it in 2 months.
Can we,
Yeah, there's fine.
yes, Pam?
I would love the opportunity for us to have a productive, professional council meeting on a consistent basis by having procedures followed carefully every time. And if that is what we do for a month or two or a quarter, I think that's a great idea. We get to the point where we all experienced on January 5th, then I think that we absolutely need it to be revisited.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to revisit this in quarterly if needed. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would absolutely put it on a review, whether we do it in 2 or quarterly, that it becomes a matter of business again to
Okay.
readdress it.
I guess I'm asking clarification on that. If there's no problem, do we waste time with it? Or are we going to just revisit it if it's needed?
I believe it closes the loop if we just bring it back and say, you know, this has been a successful process. We are meeting with great success. We are going to continue in this fashion, and it wouldn't be brought forward.
So bring it back as a discussion at that time, not an action, but a discussion. So I would like clarification on that. So
Give the audience an opportunity to weigh in, would give us an opportunity to weigh in, and it would close the loop.
Okay, so I would ask for a clear motion to be made, please.
Okay.
Well, I want to hear the clear motion.
I make a motion that we revisit this quarterly for discussion and to either decide that we need to go one way or the other as far as Zoom goes.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. John Harvey,
Aye.
Michael Gregory.
Aye.
Mickey Wagner.
Aye.
Balthazar Gonzalez.
Aye.
Pam Orman.
Aye.
Unanimous, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Mayor, I need to know who seconded the motion, or was it just you did a vote? Was Mickey?
Mickey seconded it, and it was roll call, and it was unanimous ayes. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for their participation and respectfully for your input as well. I want to make us, I didn't really get to talk. Procedurally, I think everybody up here can work on that. I think that maybe some training, I'll be working with my mentor closer. Staff support is huge. I like the idea of having Officer West here tonight and Chief Chase. If we're gonna continue with crowds this large, I'd like to continue with 2. Is there a way we can make that happen?
Consider it done.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Tim, for, or Officer Lieutenant West for being here. Also, could I ask tonight that even if you need me to make it on the plotter, can we please make a big, pretty standard rules of standard operating procedures for the gallery, for the people that come in here, for the rules they need to follow as well, like no profanity or, preferred. Can we do that and post it? So that it's very clear, because I've had people tell me they don't know what the rules are. Is that something we could do?
I think that, isn't there something similar in courts where there's a sign of expected behavior? I don't think anything's wrong with expected behavior to be loud and out. Whether it's a poster, whether it's a handout, I don't have preference.
Susie, do you want to work with me to do that?
Yes, I can do that, Ashley. Thank you.
I'll print it myself, I have a plotter, whatever you need. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody in this room, staff, council, and the citizens. So let's move on. We've got more to do. New business is the next one. We need to talk about a schedule for a goal setting workshop. I see here that the League of Oregon Cities, it's already, they will come out with the services we already paid for. Is that right? Or am
It's
I?
actually the Council of Governments.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. So thank you guys for bringing that to my attention. So I guess we need to do an action on WVCC dispatch agreement. It's something that's pretty standard, I read. Do we need to have discussion? Or can I get a motion?
I have just a question.
Okay,
Has anything changed from the previous one is all I need to know? Have there been any major changes to this agreement?
Councilor Harvey, no, there's not been no major changes. There is one issue that we're still working out. There was an amendment in this agreement where Salem Police did after hours leads, like warrant service, removal of stolen cars, entries of runaways for us, because we don't have records 24/7. We're still in discussion with Salem Police on that. I'll get in contact with the Sheriff's Office. I'm in contact with Metcom. And so that amendment in the old contract has been removed because now the fire department under the city of Salem now operates the 911 center. And when that's split between the police department and the fire department, the police department said, hey, we're providing this service under the, when we manage WVCC, we now would like to reevaluate and potentially charge those agencies like Jervis, Kaiser, and other agencies that are user agreements for that after hours service. So right now they've agreed to continue doing that at no charge, but at some point I'll have to probably come back to you with an agreement that looks at costs for that after hours LEDs process.
Okay, thank you. That explains.
okay, is there any other questions of the chief? Hey, not seeing any, we'll move on. Can I get a motion?
What do you need the motion for to accept the dispatch agreement?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make it. Make a motion that we accept the WVCC dispatch agreement.
Okay, I need a pause for me. So we've had a motion and a second. And may I get all in favor, say aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it and the motion carries. Now I get to do the fun stuff. We're going to talk about scheduling a goal workshop session. It's in our packets and that's where we set our goals. And maybe we can have the tracker, Susie and I kind of touched on that earlier, but we need to schedule it. Is there some dates? I'm not recalling if there were some dates that you wanted to have us look at, Susie?
Thank you. I spoke with Scott Datsun, the executive director at the COG. The COG has facilitated our goal settings in the past. I believe I did the last one for the council, but I would prefer the COG do the next one. When I spoke with him, he suggested for the council to pick a couple of dates in March that I can take back to him. In the past, we've been able to do it on a weekday evening, which works for him. So we could look at March 16th, that's a Thursday, or try maybe a Tuesday, 14th, 21st, or 23rd.
March 23rd, it's a Thursday.
What time, Susie?
I mean, anytime, but generally 6:30 seems to be a good time for everybody.
Okay, so that's one date to give the gentleman a chance to choose. Is there another date that we could offer, please?
I'm sorry, what was the first date?
The 23rd of March.
Okay,
I don't care to do it the 30th. My son will be home, so,
what
Yeah,
about the
I'll-
16th?
the 16th would probably be okay with me. Council?
16th is good for me.
John?
That's March, right?
Yes.
Right now, I don't have anything, but my birthday's on the 14th.
Okay, so the 16th and the 23rd, Junior, you haven't spoke.
Yeah.
Or the
Susie, I'm
23rd.
not available on the 16th.
Okay, so if we offer those.
Oh.
20, is that enough?
We might have to strike the 16th. Our city recorder is not available and she should be here for the meeting.
Okay, so how about, could we go into April?
Yeah, early April?
Yeah, because my son's coming home for spring break and I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be kind of greedy about it.
Okay, well, April 6th is your regular council meeting.
Could we do it on a Tuesday, say the 4th or the 11th?
Sure.
What do you guys think?
I'm good.
April 4th or 11th?
Either.
Okay, 11.
Okay, well, I'll take those dates back to him and ask which one works and I'll bring it back at the next council meeting.
So clarify, it was the 23rd of March or April 11th?
I have the 23rd of March, the 4th of April, and the 11th.
Oh, and the 4th, okay. No, not the 4th.
No 4th?
The 4th, no.
Okay. I'll check with him on the 2 dates then. Thank you.
What's your date? 23rd, 4th?
That's tentative, we'll have to see if we have it. Okay, so, moving on, the discussion about the annual city cleanup, is there a tentative date for that? Susie, Denise had sent me a date, and I don't recall it offhand. I meant to print it off and I forgot. Denise, what date was that you said was usual?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just chased by some motherfucker into the bathroom.
Oh,
Goodness.
The process server, he was serving you.
Okay,
papers.
Doug, you have to, I'm not gonna, I have to
Well,
have you
she
not
can't
talk. Okay, I have to have you not talk.
She's been avoiding.
I have to ask you, I can't ask now again, we've got to not talk.
Thank you very much for the-
I'm so sorry, thank you. Okay, so,
It was April 22nd. It's typically held on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. Last year, the council agreed to have it on the 30th, and I'm wondering if the 30th fell.
or the 29th, you mean, Denise, this year, the Saturday is the 29th. So April 22 or April 29th.
Forgive me, I'm sorry. Let me take a look at my
No,
calendar.
you're good, it's just, it's,
Yeah, it'd be the 29th, 22nd or 29th.
Forgive me, yes, the 22nd or the 29th. 22nd is Earth Day.
Okay, I like the 22nd. Michael?
I'm good.
Junior? 22nd?
And 29th.
No, no,
Or
29th.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it that everybody here would like to participate this year?
So you said it's the 22nd?
Yes. Mhm. Is that all right then? Okay, April 22nd, if you could let the Republic Service, do I need to do anything this year? I know how to do it. We'll get volunteers and stuff like we did last year. Maybe we can put out something on our website about it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about that as it gets closer, maybe in the April meeting to finalize things. So everybody's okay with April 22nd then. Okay, we're gonna move to the staff reports. Susie, we'll hear from you first.
Okay, I have a few things I wanted to talk about. First, in my report, I gave some information. The Mid-Willamette Valley COG is having their annual meeting and dinner. It's going to be in Newburgh on February 15th. So if anybody would like to go, I can help register, or you can find information on their website. The personnel handbook, I have that ready to update. We need to give the police union an opportunity to review it for any bargaining opportunity they might see. So my plan is to bring it to the March council meeting, and by city code, council adopts the amendment by resolution. So we'll have that ready to go for March. Most of you, well, all of you remember the tourism kiosk that you voted to contribute money to. We're going to have that in our lobby for most of the month of February. It's going to be delivered on Monday, March 6th. So it's a pretty cool tool to find out what's going on in North Marion County. So stop in and check it out if you have an opportunity, and anybody in the audience too, you can come check it out. Yeah.
I just want to check the date. She said March 6th, it says February 6th here.
Oh, February 6th. Did I say March 6th? Okay. The Winfield apartment project is moving along. We just met with the developer and the Jervis team to work out how the plan is moving forward. And I'll just say it is moving forward. It's in the review process, soon to be in the permit review process. So that's going to move along fairly quickly, I think. A couple of other things. I was notified by our planner that Oregon Parks and Rec has some new grant opportunities, and one of them is for a Veterans Memorial Wall. And I know council has talked about that before, so if there's interest in getting that back up and going, we could put a plan together and apply for the grant. The deadline is March 31st. So if there's interest, let me know and I can help with that. I do have a request from the council. We have an individual who sends multiple emails to staff and likes to CC city council members. Contacting staff for information is perfectly fine, but I don't always understand why the council is CC'd on the emails. In some instances, it feels pretty antagonistic, and I would just ask that the council support us and direct anybody who communicates in that way, direct them back to me for the information. I think that that is more than appropriate.
Council, anything to say on that? clarify, how is that, I'm just asking for, how is that antagonistic? We're the council, if he or she wants to send it to us, it's just informational. I don't think I would find it harassing. I mean, I'm not bothered by it. I'm sorry that you are. There's nothing
Well-
that, I don't get it.
Yeah, I can give you an example from today. There was an email exchange between Denise and this individual seeking information on viewing public records. And Denise was not understanding correctly, so she was asking for clarification. And the email was directly between Denise and this other person. And then this other person responded and copied all the counselors with an opening comment of, now we're getting somewhere, and proceeded. So just that opening statement just didn't feel right. And I just ask that if the city council could direct those requests just directly to staff. I don't think the whole council needs to be CC'd on every email that comes to staff. I don't understand why that's happening. So that's my.
Yeah, I personally have not gone through all my emails. I would like to just have a look, and then I don't want to be quick to judge or anything. I could just have.
Okay. Because we're more than happy to fulfill public requests. It just fills up inboxes for the rest of the council, and I don't know that it's necessary. So I guess the last thing I wanted to share is Council Gregory mentioned that admin could possibly help with getting training and helping the council conduct your meetings and follow the rules and whatnot. I've shared information with the mayor, but I think the council needs to be aware of the resources that are out there and the resources that I know of. One of them is the League of Oregon Cities. They have the wherewithal to help with team building. Whoops, where'd we go? Oh. They have the ability to help with team building. They have mediation services, coaching. I mean, they have a whole array of services that we could tap into. I also know of two individuals, happens to be Mayor McCardle from City of Independence and Scott Lazenby. He's a retired city manager from Lake Oswego. He now works with PSU, but they travel around and can help councils in a wide range of different capacities. I know they're doing the goal setting session for Woodburn coming up. So I just wanted to offer those resources. I just wanted to let the council know that they're out there. I know of them. And, you know, if the council is interested in doing something like that, I would be glad to help facilitate and bring somebody in or bring more information back for you to hear. And that's all I have for my report.
Yeah, Susie did let me know that, and told her I would think on it because I want to have a level of comfort on that. And I'm thinking that I'd like to look at who else might be available. You know, not that we don't know good people, but I'd like a more neutral party that I feel comfortable with at this point. I'm not saying anything bad about these people. I don't even know them, but I want to do some research on it. I think I should be afforded that if I'm going to participate. So that's what my thoughts were on it. And I'm doing things as I can. A lot of accusations out there, so I'm working through those. And so I have my plate kind of full that way. So respectfully, if you schedule something like that, I'm not sure that I will attend unless I have time to think about it. Just to put it out there. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to give the council the information of what's out there. I wouldn't schedule anything without the council's direction.
Okay, so thank you, Susie, for your report. Next we have the police department, Chief Chase.
Mayor and council, before you is the Jervis Police Report. I'll go through each item. If you see this report, this particular time, there's multiple items on here. In the past, I've kept it short because I thought that was the feeling to limit the meetings length. But in an effort to show you that we are transparent and we will answer questions, I applied several things going on to this report, so I'll go through them. We've had 178 calls of service through December 1 and December 31st. And I just would like to remind the council that the reason why it's not January is because when we supply you the council report, we do that the last week before the first meeting of the month. So therefore, we don't have the statistics for January until February 3rd.
I'm sorry, I don't know what CAD means.
Oh, sorry, yes, it's computer aided dispatch. Yes, so it's where the dispatch receives a call, that agreement that you just approved of, the call goes into the Blount Valley Communications, they generate a CAD, a computer aided dispatch, and then they send that to us through our mobile data computer in the car. We had one arrest, there were 37 citations, traffic offenses issued, 41 warnings. I know sometimes the council wants us to write more citations, but I'm proud of the officers in our department and their ability to try to develop compliance without citing everybody for everything. And so I think they establish good relationships with citizens in the community, but also taking the opportunity to educate and issue warnings. We assisted nine incidents where we went outside the city and assisted various agencies. Most of that is Marion County Sheriff's Office. And then there were not 5 incidences inside the city that we assisted other agencies. The first item is the DARE graduation. Mayor, thank you for agreeing to attend, and Danny Stevens and others will be there with us. Thank you for your support in that, and we're excited that you will join us for that wonderful event. We appreciate the support that we have from the community and the relationship that we have also with the Jervis School District, as well as the Sacred Heart Catholic School for delivering those classes. And Lieutenant West continues to serve as our DARE officer and the Oregon DARE representative for DARE International. It was an unfortunate situation, but we had to cancel this year's planned DARE DOT, which is the DARE officer training. It's a 2-week intensive course in order to be able to be certified in order to teach the DARE program. But because agencies across the state are facing significant staffing shortages, and when I was at the conference early in January, I was surprised that at this time, which was not the case for Jervis, we were one of the only agencies of chiefs that I talked to that actually were fully staffed. And that hasn't been the past occurrence here. And so anyway, so because of these staff shortages, some of these chiefs are having to pull their school resource officers out of the schools to do staffing, as well as limit the times in their school so they can't afford to send them away for 2 weeks to receive that training. And so we had a limited amount sign up. And so we had to make the unfortunate decision with DARE to cancel this year's training. We were going to be sending Officer Carlos Camacho and Officer Zane Rice to that. One of the benefits for us being sponsorship is that it's local. And so, hotel costs, airline tickets, meals, to send somebody out of state is significantly reduced if we could do that sponsorship. So we're going to regroup and figure out what we'll do in the future. Any questions about that?
No, just to compliment you guys on the DARE.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Officer West, you're here tonight, and he is just doing a spectacular dang job. And thank you for inviting me to participate.
You're very welcome. We've asked you before, but because of the COVID situation, they limited, and some of the graduations were actually held by Zoom, and this one will actually be a little bit by Zoom too, and in person, so the parents could participate. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I remember your very first day, and I remember you asking us at the council meeting, what were we looking for in a chief for here in Jervis? And one of the main things that was troubling to a lot of the public was outsiders coming through Jervis would drive around Jervis. The school was afraid of the police and the stores, it was like, so what we asked was, and what I asked was treat them like Andy Griffin would. Welcome the kids, welcome the public, and not to ticket every single stop. Not every stop is a valid ticket. Warnings go a long way. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're behind the wheel, go to jail, And what I heard after about 2 years was people said, hey, I don't mind going through Jervis anymore. It's welcoming. They're in the school. I see the officers working with the kids. I see in the, our facilities, up and down the street, handing out stuff, 4th of July events, out there with the public. And I see the public does not fear the police anymore. So hats off to you.
Thank you, thank you. I pass that compliment on to the officers, the personality and the type of officers we have with Lieutenant West, with Dan Marshall, with Carlos Camacho, with Zane Rise, Kristen Quinn still working part-time, and then we also have Crystal Camacho as our secretary. And I'm just really proud. I've been doing this a long time, and I see a lot of different personalities in law enforcement, but each one of those people on our staff is what help us accomplish that. And as you know, sometimes we don't get that type of personality in. And I can tell you with 100% confidence, each one of our officers and our staff that echo what you said. So thank you.
So the other night, doing a neighborhood watch drive-through, there was a car, our door was open, called 911, dispatch was amazing. And you guys followed up so quick the next morning to see how things were going. And I truly appreciate the fact that you guys, even though it was all kind of wrapped up, that you guys did, you took the time to call and make sure that the resident was okay. And all of that. So thank you.
You're welcome. And just recently, I read a briefing by Officer Camacho, where we had a person transported to a hospital, and the next day, what did he do? He did exactly what he said. He followed up to when the person came back just to see how they were doing and check in on them. So that's the kind of customer service and care that you guys do. So thank you. That's off to those guys on the street, because they're the ones who do most of the work. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else?
I just wanted to thank Officer Camacho for responding to a concern that I had. Not only was he very timely, but came in the house and met my family and gave stickers to my grandson, who was thrilled to get stickers. And I do think that speaks to the work that's been done to be community friendly, neighborhood friendly. And so I just want to add that I think that's a good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, if that's everything. thank
Oh,
you.
the next one is the Jervis Police Association. Again, I don't have to
No,
go
it's
through
okay.
these, but the Jervis Police Association basically gave us a notification that they would like to begin bargaining. And so the timeliness of the personnel rules and beginning bargaining will occur. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, to be transparent with you, and that if there was something that you wanted to talk about ahead of time, generally what we do is we start to meet with the Jervis Police Association and start talking about their requests and changes, which includes pay raise, other benefits, health insurance. But based on some of the questions I received, I wanted to offer to you if you would like to have an executive session to discuss the current contract and give Susie and I feedback on what you would like to offer or where your limits are before we enter those negotiations. So that discussion occurs beforehand. I'm definitely willing to do that with you and offer that. Our current contract ends on June 30th. It's been a pretty simple process as far as negotiation occurs, and we've never really had any contentions. But with inflation and some of the other challenges that we're facing, you never know what they're going to request and what they're going to need. But having good paid officers with good benefits, I know Council Gregory before stated that in the past, when we had an officer that was looking at going to another agency and you guys moved to change the pay scale. That officer is still here today because of that. So that was very positive. So, I just wanted to bring that to your attention and if you'd like to have an executive session, discuss ahead of time the contract, we could definitely do that. Yes, sir.
I do believe that's us council's job. We need to be here and we need to give you direction.
Sounds good.
So I'm all for the executive session.
Yeah, excellent. The next thing is, anything else?
I have one quick question, the date for the deer graduation.
Oh, 15th, yes.
What time?
It's 9 a.m.
The next thing is ordinance enforcement. This is something that we've been talking about for a couple of months. And so we've been in contact with many residents. I'm sorry, Mayor, what?
Oh, I saw.
Page 108, top of the page.
We've been talking to many residences about the parking, Jervis City Code 17.80.030, specifically yard parking and parking in general, but mainly yard parking because that's been an issue. We've recommended those residents to write letters to the city and or share their ideas with us. So what I'd like from you is as we prepare, because we have to get the council report to you, staff report to you on Monday, because we're meeting the following Monday. I'd just like to get some more direction on what specifically that you're looking for a staff report. Right now, my report and Susie's report would include the language and the ordinances to be supplied to you, and then kind of a summary of the suggestions from the residents regarding any parking changes. Some of those include leave it like it is, and others are paint every street that has no parking signs, the curving yellow, and everything in between that, changing the development code. So I'll include those comments and those suggestions from our residences, so you have those. But I just want to know if you had any other specific direction for what you would like to see in that report for that meeting.
Ordinance enforcement, I'd like to see how that's done. I've heard you say that you don't act unless it's a complaint, but yet out there, I'm hearing that they don't feel that it's there. They feel like they're being harassed when they see other people breaking those same laws. So I'm wondering, could we get a report of that, just how many of these are and to whom, and just something to let us know that, how it's working, how that happens. How
Yeah,
people get it. Because I'm serious, I have people telling me all the time, I've gotten these tickets, but yet next door doesn't. So I'm curious about that, how that works, more than just if you.
Sure.
I mean, the law is the law is the law, right?
So in my previous council report for the last couple of months, I did kind of outline our procedure on that.
Okay.
And so what I could do is maybe expound on that a little more to help clarify for you, as well as maybe include those previous council reports as far as our process.
Okay, the process, but maybe we can give some feedback too.
Sure. As far as names of people who decided, I don't think that would be appropriate to share.
I'm not asking for names, but I'm asking for, these ordinances, and I honestly, I see it. And I see what they're complaining is. And I'm just getting a little bit over the top, so
Sure.
we could visit that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything
Because
more on
I
that?
see trouble coming.
What's that?
I see trouble coming if we don't kind of fix that. That was all.
Well, sometimes with ordinance enforcement, the only thing that's consistent about it, I hate to say it, is inconsistency. Really, because officers are, working traffic, or they're going to call to the school. Sometimes you get a complaint, kind of like speeding enforcement. Sometimes you get speeders and sometimes you don't. Sometimes somebody can zip through town very fast. We're on the other side of town and we don't get them. Sometimes that's the same thing with ordinance report, but that's kind of hit and miss. We've had a staff report, and we can talk about that at your meeting, where should we move forward with ordinances only on a complaint basis, to where there's a named complainant, and only move forward with investigations on named complainants to ordinance violations, or should we continue to randomly as we do patrol, see the kind of what we call the low hanging fruits, the real obvious ones, and enforce those. But ordinance enforcement, we could use a full-time person just doing that, but we can't afford that. But we'll bring that to you. Great questions. Anything more on that? Okay, the next thing I wanted to bring your attention to is an election fraud complaint that we received. I received a letter from a resident regarding election fraud with the local mayor election. I reviewed this with our Marion County District Attorney's Office, and the Marion County District Attorney's Office advised that they do not receive these type of complaints and would refer us to the Oregon Secretary of State's office. The DA said that they do not have jurisdiction over these election issues. And so I reached out and talked to the State of Oregon Secretary of State's office, the person in charge of election fraud, spoke with her supervisor because there was a question about whether or not the Secretary of State's office actually would look into our local election fraud complaint that I had received, and they said they would. And so I recontacted the complainant email, advised him that they would receive his complaint. He just needed to sign that complaint because the original one that they received was not signed. And so we're done with it. It's not an issue that the Jervis Police Department is following up within based on the recommendation of the Marion County District Attorney's Office and the jurisdiction of the Oregon Secretary of State. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I had asked last time, Susie, that you bring, and that just brought it to mind. Bring something that tells us step by step exactly what our employees are supposed to do, so we can make it clear to citizens what our process is. That, you know, maybe that would help if we were transparent and saying, when somebody comes in and says they want to be the mayor, what does our staff actually responsible for? That way it's in black and white, and can't, you know, later just assume that you should do something else, or just to be clear. I mean, I think it would be a helpful piece of information, and I'm still learning that. So just put that out there when you get time. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, the next issue, because there's been some questions about expenses and tax dollars being spent, so I wanted to bring to you our mental health wellness policy. The police department is required under ORS 181A-832 to establish a mental health wellness policy for addressing issues related to mental health wellness for law enforcement officers. And this law was established in 2019. So part of our wellness program, what we've done is we brought the officers and their spouses together for a luncheon, and we bring in a guest speaker. This year, I contacted an old friend of mine that I knew, and he's local in Oregon. Generally, his fees are significantly high, closer to the $10,000 range. And because I know him and he's local, he's willing to come and do that for about a third of the cost. But because it's a substantial amount, and at last council meeting, there was some questions about money being spent. And so I wanted to have, I would prefer to have an unanimous approval and consent from the council to move forward with bringing that consultant in, and that year's cost is estimated around $2,800, which is about $200 per person. In the past, the city hall staff has joined us as well, because it's about wellness, it's about leadership, it's about sometimes kind of how to deal with the conflict that employees and fallout from even, you know, the council and meetings, community criticism, and how to keep yourself well and healthy and dealing with conflict, as well as providing a good positive customer service like you guys have mentioned the officers do. So it'd be nice to have a consensus to move forward with that. It's consistent with what we spent in the past, and it's in the budget.
When does that take place?
We have it scheduled. We're going to have it scheduled for February 15th, but there's a conflict with the DARE graduation, so we'll probably have to move it.
So you had already scheduled.
Well, actually, I had scheduled it in January, but based upon the meeting and some of the requests from you as the body, I reached out to the consultant and I canceled it. pending bringing it forward to you for discussion. Because I didn't want to spend that money. Even though it is in the budget, it is something we planned. I felt it was important to inform you of that before we did that. So I just kind of like a consensus that you guys support us doing that.
No, my-
Thank you, John. So on this mental health wellness, I know all EMS sees a lot of things out there. And would this also kind of fit into that category as far as bringing them back in and realizing that, you know, there's things that are out of their control and that type of thing? I've seen a lot of people go down because that mental health just isn't there. So would that cover that as well?
Yeah, that's part of the program. I think that's why the Oregon legislature in 2019 recognized the stress, the trauma, PTSD of, you know, seeing some pretty horrific things. We've had that here in Jervis. And so that's part of bringing somebody to kind of give the motivation because, you know, for me, you know, I've married 33 years and I have an outstanding wife. And without her support, I couldn't be as effective as I am today. And so bringing the spouses in so they can see what we deal with and they can learn with us regarding how to deal with conflict and leadership, and, mental health has been important to me to deliver in that fashion. So yes.
Thank you.
So my question is now, this person that you're bringing in to speak, are they not, talking about mental health, are they a specialist in that field of mental health?
Yes, it's David Ragner and Associates. His and his wife actually speak internationally and around the country. He's spoke to many different police departments around the United States. And he lives in Portland. He's kind of retired now. And so I've used him in the past and just really like how he delivers things. And so I tried to pick somebody that's top notch and not just, you know, somebody that's new or doesn't have a lot of experience. And so he's an internationally renowned speaker and does wellness and leadership and helps people lead their families, lead their communities in that.
Well, okay, so maybe that's the question. So his credentials, what I'm getting at is, I mean, I know you guys deal with a lot of stuff. And what I'm curious about is what do you guys do as far as mental health goes, as far as seeing a psychiatrist or anything like that to air out anything that goes on now? That's not included in this?
No, he's not a psychologist or psychiatrist. He's a kind of a motivational speaker, wellness speaker, leadership speaker. We've had in the past our police psychologist, Dr. Sherry Harden, was one of our presenters, I think maybe a year or two ago. We've had professional chaplains. And so officers, I'm trying to answer your question as best as possible, is officers aren't required right now to do wellness checks. That is potentially going to be in this 2023 legislative session, a discussion item to, and I've seen some white papers and some discussions around issues on whether or not officers should be required to go get a checkup just to talk to somebody. But part of our mental health wellness program does offer employee assistance programs. And they could go and talk to a psychologist after the fact when we go to a major incident and see traumatic issues. We have a defusing and a debriefing, and then the chaplains that are trained, especially trained in this, follow up with the officers to make sure they're okay. Some, you know, come out of things okay, and some do not. So does that help answer your question, sir? Okay.
So you're asking for a consensus?
Yeah, I just, it's important to me because of the expense and again, because I'm not hiding anything from the council and I just want to be open and honest with you about things. And so I'd like your support on this.
Okay, so Michael,
Does your officers, they want this, and your officers' spouses, they want this?
I don't know exactly if 100% want this or not. It's something that we've done and I know they've liked it in the past. I've had positive feedback, but I haven't polled each officer officer individually and each spouse individually to say, do they want to go to this?
I was wondering if there were, if all of them were gonna attend, if it's voluntary or if it's.
Yeah, if they don't want to attend, that they can attend. I know my wife has had to miss in the past when she watches our grandchildren. So, you know, we always have to figure out a way to get those kids watched in order to get her here. So it is voluntary for the spouses.
And this is well within your police budget.
Yes.
I'm not gonna deter anything to help the police.
Well, okay, I have one more question. So just say only half the people come.
Yes.
So what happens to the rest of that money? Because it says $200, less than 200 per person. Does it
Right,
go back
so
into the fund?
Whether we have 5 or whether we have 20, it's the same price. Other than providing the meal, lunch meal for the event. So if we only had, just the officers and their spouses didn't come, including our admin aide, we potentially just have 7 people attend. City Hall staff may join us as well. Public work be welcome to join as well. So depending on, you know, the lunch cost would change, but as far as the fee, his fee is $2,500. Whether we have 2 or 20.
So can I get that consensus so we can move this meeting along, please? Pam?
Yes.
Union?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Okay, you have your consensus. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you. Data-led policing, in front of you tonight, you have a binder. And so kudos to staff for putting that together. And so we created a binder for you to begin to, if you'd like to put this on your shelf, pull it down if you have questions from citizens, and begin to put in information like the ordinance stuff that Mayor, you're asking for. It's a binder for you to be able to do that, to show you what we do. And so in that, we have last year's from January 2022 through to December 22, the calls of service. That does not include self-initiated activity. There's a difference. The calls of service are when a citizen calls in either to our office and we dispatch an officer, or they call into the dispatch center and they're dispatched. So the calls before you are just calls that are generated by somebody calling us on the telephone by time of day, by the hour. Based on that data is how we make decisions on trying to staff the number of officers we have at the time for coverage. There's a lot of questions sometimes, why don't we have 24 coverage or why don't we have later coverage? So now that we have the data, we can better facilitate placing our resources where the most calls are. And so if you have questions about that, you can go through that and then asking questions of me you'd like to have regarding those calls at the times that we have patrols.
All right.
I've got a question. Tell me how to read it. I don't even know.
Sure, yeah. So, so if you take the first page of January, the very bottom left-hand corner, it says 0001 to 0100, that's midnight to 1 a.m. So during that time, and during January 2022, there were no calls. From 1 to 2, the next column to that right is from 1 a.m. or 1:01 a.m. to 0200 in the morning. There was no calls of service. And then proceeding through the day, all the way back to midnight, which would then go into the next day, you'll see the calls of service. So in January, you see the calls of service began around 6:01 a.m. And the last call of service for that particular day was around 22:01, which is 10 o'clock, to 2300, which is 11 o'clock. So you'll see where those calls of service, and that kind of fits within what our patrols are doing right now. We have officers that come on about 7 a.m. and right now get off around 10 p.m. So that matches that. But as you can see, as you go through the year, as daylight increases in evening hours, you'll see where some of the calls increase. And again, there's not necessarily any consistency to when people call. And so, you know, we try to staff accordingly.
Could we bring in that executive and talk about, can we bring the schedules? I've asked for them for a couple of years now, and I know we can't bring them into an open meeting. There's no reason we couldn't see the scheduling this from time, like a few months at a time, so we can see.
Yeah, currently we're doing 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 10, or excuse me, noon to 10 p.m. That's our
Well, the
schedule.
reason I ask is because the other night we had our thing,
Yes,
and it was like 6:30, 7 o'clock. No, we had to call Marion County, and it was a weeknight. So I just, as citizens, I'd like to see it, not to critique you, not to pick you apart, but I think that there could be some valuable input on what we need.
yeah, absolutely.
But I
That's why
haven't
we're
never
providing
been
it to you.
privileged to see it at
Yeah.
that civil time.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. Could you bring that to that, okay? That word executive that we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding. I just explained we have
Well-
7 to 5 p.m., 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and noon right now to 10 p.m. That's our schedule through March. And I prefer not to advertise.
No, I'm not asking
that
you.
we
We're
don't
talking
have
about
that.
executive. I'd like to see, I like a history, like you're giving us history here with
Yeah.
military time. I
Uh-huh.
understood that right away. I just want a history of actual schedules that we have, please.
I mean, I guess I'm not following it. We could,
I'll articulate it for you
Okay.
in a demo.
okay, sounds good. So if you flip over, Councilor Harvey, the next one in February, you'll see that time slots fit the same time frames. And then on the left column, you'll see that in February, we had 8 calls that came in between 1 and 2 p.m. 13:01 and 1 p.m. So we should have probably put it in regular time, not military. I apologize.
Probably a
No,
full
it's fine.
moon that day.
Yeah. A full moon in the afternoon, yes, absolutely. So you can see on the left side, there's a number of
Okay,
calls.
so I get the idea of the times on here, but then so when you run up and then it stops at 5, what is that, 5?
5 calls.
Oh, okay, that's the
Yeah.
amount, that's the call.
That's the amount of calls, yeah.
Okay, see, I didn't understand that. Calls right there, okay.
So when you go down on February, fall the bottom from 8:01 a.m. to 0909 a.m., there was 5 calls during that hour time.
Right, gotcha. All right. That's what I didn't.
So you go backwards, if you look at midnight to 1, there was actually 1 call between midnight and 1 call between 1 and 2, and 1 call between 2 and 3. And we're always available 24/7 on call. I know we've had some discussions about cars and that kind of stuff, and we're moving in the direction that you guys have discussed. Any more questions about that?
You wouldn't be up before.
Thank you. I did notice in here that it seems like February, July, and September were the months for a lot of calls. Is that like historically something that happens, or it just seems weird that it's just those months are crazy?
Historically, I couldn't tell you because we haven't compiled the data for data from the previous years. That's something we could definitely look at. What you are going to see moving forward in the council reports that I provide with you, and we had a meeting today about that, is that I'm going to include a graph like this. So in your March meeting, you'll have my council report as well as this graph for the amount of calls for January of 2023. Okay. All right, moving back to the list. The next area is the ELAS, the Executive Leadership Training Symposium. I wanted to know that the first time I trained or went to the ELAS training this year was very helpful. They had some great topics, which included the conflict on social media and how to lead a community with that and be transparent with things. It was very informative. I learned a lot about it. So they had a lot of guest speakers, a lot of discussions from chiefs. Some of that was even mental health wellness, how to help our officers. So I wanted to know, I was able to attend that and brought back a lot of excellent information. And then I put on here a topic that I think is important to you, as important to me as well, and that is transparency. And we desire be open about our policies, our procedures, our data, the information and decision-making to the public where the law allows. Some things just don't allow us to share information, but when the law allows, we can share that. So we want to be open to it. One of the ways we accomplish that transparency is through this council report. And I encourage you to share with me or share with the staff your desire of things that you'd like to see in this report and provide to you. We look forward to City Hall. I know they've been working hard and looking at different vendors. It's tough because trying to get different vendors for websites, customer service it's just different, as you know, when you probably go get your own customer service. It's not the same. It takes a while, but part of the process of updating our website would allow us to publish, hopefully, our policies and procedures, our ordinance process, so the public, or you could refer the public to the website and they could read for themselves the policy and the procedures that we use to enforce ordinances, or we do for mental health wellness, or how we investigate an accident, those types of things. So I felt from last meeting that there may have been a lack of information in the report. And so I provided quite a bit more information in the report. It's not everything we could do. The team is working hard all the time, and I could go to midnight talking about all the things that they do, and I appreciate the compliment. So I wanted to end on, if there are things that you would like to see me bring back to you, please let me know, and I'll include those in this report.
Appreciate the effort. Thank you.
You're welcome. That all?
Hey, Kyle.
Kyle. You want one? Scoffed off.
Yes, maybe after I'm done talking, I can make that.
You know what? I'm gonna move.
I like you don't feel very good.
Get to the top of the
You'll have to excuse me here, I'm under the weather and but made it here today. Couple updates to, my council report. Timing's everything, we submit them over a week ahead of time. So as most of you may have seen, the crosswalk signals were installed for the last 2 days. So they're up and functioning. Couple quirks with those. When you hit one button, it sets them both off. So if you're setting the button at the high school, the grade school still. I noticed that first thing when I drove in today, and the technician was getting ready to leave us. I don't think we're done. So they are working on that. The basketball park as well. The hoop, the upright is installed. The bench that I actually made myself several years ago. That was kind of an obnoxious yellow paint color. Has been prepped and repainted by the Public Works crew. I let them choose a color. I said, let's choose a little bit better color this time. So it'll be a little bit more subtle. That'll be located next week, installed as well as the so then it'll be open for business. Water plant, the level sensors, of course, shipping delays is all you ever hear. So we're probably looking at middle of February before they're here. And addressing the parking issues, or I should say drop-off issues as part of the K-2 building there. Signs have been ordered, just got the email this evening. They're ready to be picked up, so they'll be picked up tomorrow, installed within the next week or two after the locates are called. Decided. I also threw in there, because I know with John, previous Public Works superintendent, there's a lot of questions regarding lighting up the park. So I've gone through all of his notes, estimates, as well as called out a couple more recent ones, and it appears, it's quite expensive. I think what they call municipality grade, something that will be durable, last for years on end. And like I said, the ranges are all over, from expensive to really expensive. So,
Kyle, on the Portland Electric and Greg Bowen, the one, the contractors, a couple of them that I sent out. I noticed the light poles were really expensive on those bids. Is it because those, like what you just said, would last a long time, or was it because they were gonna match like what's up here? I wasn't sure what the value.
The municipality grade,
Okay,
but what they want to do is they want to, obviously have it built into the surroundings.
Sure.
And you can put in a big wood pole, just like PG does as well. But as far as the way the manufacturers work, there's no standalone company from what I understand. Put that rear unit on something that seems everybody has a proprietary pole.
okay, so that was something they wanted to use then. Okay. I just wondered why the pole itself was so expensive.
Well, with like all the sign posts and everything, over the last 3 years, with the whole supply chain interruption, somebody hits a stop sign in town, it's cost the city about $30. Most recent estimates, and this is just for the galvanized pole, they've more than doubled. Some of the vendors more than tripled. So we're just getting the stop sign. So
Can I ask? I'm just curious, for that price that you quoted on him, how many poles would that actually be?
the reading through, like John's notes and stuff, I noticed, he was consistently going with 4 poles. So I went, with the likeness there, and that's already come up. So that's 4 poles,
50,000.
but that's also including 2 hardwired units, one at the top of the park pavilion, as well as one on the side of the bathroom building as well.
Maybe
That'd be
that could
6
be in
lights.
Some of those.
6 lights, 4 of them sold on the other poles.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Susie, on that, you said that there was a grant thing for the parks thing. Could this maybe fall underneath? But I know you were talking to PGE, but would it be possible to try and get a grant for some of these, this light pole thing?
Let's see, possibly they have. Yeah, there's 6 different programs, so possibly that could fit the criteria for one of them. I could look at that.
Yeah, because, we had those kids chase. I see on the track that it says for, illumination, but it's more about safety. We had those kids almost ran down the cars. And people are still chomping at the bit. They can't blame them. Kind of scared over that. Kids go. Maybe if we could look at that soon. Yeah. A lot going on over there. One of the neighbors told me there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
Anyway.
in my quick look of what's out there right now, it doesn't look like it fits the description.
What about
But
our
I do
joints?
need to hear back from PGE yet too. I just made a note I should follow up with that person.
Well, maybe this is an ask for that joint grant writer to do some research on. Just putting that out there because we were looking for something that she could do for us.
Yeah.
Maybe that would-
Yeah.
Just a thought. Thank you.
That pretty well covers it up. I just kind of wanted to bring that back up. It is coming up before too long. Budget season. That'll be my first one going through this. So there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
But with the park lighting, I know that's been a big topic in the past. And so we'll get out in front.
Okay, well, thank you, Carl. I'm sorry about the. Next is business from mayor and council. The 4th of July, Michael, are you interested in taking that up?
Yes, I want to be the chair of the 4th of July committee.
Just to get it out there, that's something you can start looking at if you want to volunteer to help with that council.
Done deal.
I have things, but not really, so I'm gonna let council provide anything.
No.
Okay,
Oh, well, I do have one.
go ahead, John.
Nice meeting.
Yeah. It was nice. Thank you, everyone. I got it, I have to say, thank you. And with that being said, the time is 9:28 and this one is adjourned.
Next.
Council, how you doing?
John.
No.
Right, right, no.
No, I hesitated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's.
You talk about glass.
Yeah, the seven, the car that looks like it did broken into.
They don't do it.
We asked.
It's like $100. $8.99, that was on.
Yeah, we can make that pick. That normally it is the car owner. So, I mean. Oh, yeah, I was dealing with.
Thank you, Tom.
I have 2 a day. Well, my very first call, I never seen it.
Yeah, I'll have to.
I understand.
Wow. No, okay. Thanks. And I just better.
And I feel like-
All right, everyone. We'll see you next month. Hey, Brian, enjoy your week.
My daughter.
Yeah, definitely make me first.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Karen. And she. Like.
That's what they said. They said, I called them. I said, do you know